Hello, and welcome to my cellar. Been having some interesting times this week. Did a video on the crazy shootings and stuff. Excuse me. Gotta reach almost. This is ready to fall down. And got some wonderful results to that. And I got my first cortisone shot the other day. And now I think I know what it's like to have hot gravy injected into your shoulder blade. Sure hope it makes it feel better. Okay, now this is an interesting one. I'm going to read it because it'll amuse us all. But it follows up a point that I made. Played some poker for a while in Mesa, Arizona in the basement of a coffee shop. Mostly people in sobriety that weren't willing to give up gambling too. They were liberal poker players, and I loved Crazy Eights, and that was not on the list of poker games. However, dealer's choice meant we could call our own wilds. They always groaned when it was my turn to deal because they knew I was going to throw the heavy rules. Wild, Crazy Eights, eights are wild, any suit or any. Yeah, okay, he's got the Crazy Eight rules. And the reason he mentions it is because I was talking about Uno, and that's what they did then. So anyway, he puts it, some old sorcerer guy at the table asked me if I played D&D, and I should check it out. So I brought a Trapper Keeper with about half of my world in it, 200 NPCs, new races, rules for 3D combat, the poisonous ring. You mean this game? Yeah, that game, I guess. It's amazing. We all find things to play to amuse ourselves. And you know, hey, you could be the next one. Figure out a new skin to put on Go Fish. Become the next millionaire. You know, go fish. Oops, nope, didn't want to get a white shark. Oh, anyway, I have no idea. It's yours. It's a free idea. Okay, got a question on the Greyhawk Pantheon. Pantheon etymology question. Does Biori take her name from Bayo, the Irish word for life? I have no idea. When I left, Greyhawk was a book. It was Gary's campaign, and it was some maps that Darlene had been commissioned to paint. But beyond that, I have no idea. And I'd say look at whoever edited the World of Greyhawk stuff, not the Little Brown Book supplement, but the other stuff. They might be able to tell you. I have no idea. That was after my time. Okay, this is a thank you. My respect for you has grown 100,000-fold for tackling the question of ethics in gaming. Well, and I didn't really go far enough on it. Don't we deal with that? Certainly in role playing, don't we deal with that in alignment? I know that D&D in its original concept was heavily imprinted with a Judeo-Christian ethic because of the books that Gary and Dave had read, because of the movies they had seen, etc. So the game itself had a certain amount of ethics built into it. Now, if you're talking about a simulation, that's a different story. Quite frankly, when I was a younger gamer, and if I was playing Panzer Leader, I always wanted to have the German side because they had the better armor. Certainly, overlooked the ethical question of playing the Nazis. Okay. But that was a simulation and more in the abstract. If there were a game, well, this carving up the new world game, if there were, extracting native workers from your territory, how many could you raise? The ethical question would be, how did you raise them? But in role playing, it seems like we try to keep ethics in line, in check, at least within reach by our alignments. And if you profess a certain alignment, then you have to not do things that would be anathema or unethical to adherence of that alignment. So it's something we skirt around all the time. As DMs, when we character play the NPCs, certainly we're crossing that line pretty thoroughly. Pardon me, dry throat. So it's something you got to skirt around. Also, I would hope that would keep campaigns from going to the dark side, whatever your definition of the dark side is. Not something with exploitation, slavery, and human beings as chattel. And, you wouldn't want to see that. No, you wouldn't. I wouldn't want to go there. Okay, this is from the Bards of Greyhawk, the guys that did my song. And they're thanking for the shout out and saying how much fun they had making it. And the story behind it will be available to the backers of their upcoming Patreon. So they're Bards of Greyhawk, and they're going to do a Patreon, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to be in Denver in February with these guys at Genghis Khan. So I hope to get to know them better before that. Let's see. All right, this is one that comes from a very old one. This is someone that's catching up. God bless them. Comes way back from number 31, which would be, well over a year ago. Well, not that far, but yeah, a year and a month. Anyway, it's interesting how your descriptions of how D&D was envisioned during creation matches with how modern action movies are presented, with lots of slow motion to show the close dodges. Clockwork Orange was a movie coming out at the same time as D&D, and they had slow motion fights. Is that how it's supposed to be seen by the players? That's a very perceptive point. Pardon me. It's a very perceptive point. Yeah, Clockwork Orange. I saw Clockwork Orange when I was in college before I went to TSR. The Wild Bunch came out with its slow motion, and Kung Fu was on TV, and they often, slowed down something. So that's kind of where the 10-segment idea came from, because this was all theater of the mind. We didn't have Dwarvenite wonderful dungeon tiles and accessories. We didn't even have figures to speak of. We would scavenge something out of a medieval line or a Dark Ages line, and we didn't put them out on the table. We set them in front of us, with our dice and our pencil and our sheet and that. And that was our avatar out there. We didn't play out we weren't playing on grids or 1-inch squares or anything. So to help grasp the concept of seeing it all play out in your mind, eyes closed, we drew on what was available as a contemporary reference, and that was slow-mo. Kung Fu did it. Some of the movies had done it. And that's what we wanted people to see as a general melee, or melee, depending upon how you pronounce it. When, for instance, let's take the Wild Bunch, though it's a Western. If there's a gunfight, blam, 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 blam. And they're both firing off, and they're moving and whatever. And who hits who and all that is pretty much a matter of chance. So that's kind of the way we dealt with combat. It was a big flowing guys, swinging around and swinging shields and flailing around in kind of a synchronized dance of doom and death. And it was easier to envision it that way. And keep in mind also that disco was coming in and strobe lights were really big. So the stroboscopic effect, that was really the 10 phases of the turn, was the strobe 1, strobe 2, strobe 3. So, and that was where it came from. So that's where it originated. Again, we were explaining a brand new concept to people that in many cases had not even tried to grasp something like this. And nobody had ever done it before, so we couldn't say anything. We hoped to say everything right. We didn't want to say anything wrong, because then that would cut our own throat. All right, on the reunion. Oh, and something else. I'll stop it here. On the Benny 2 spells thing. When my computer crashed, one of the files that I was unable to recover when one of the external hard drives also futzed out on me at the same time was all that stuff. And Jim and I have talked it over. And I don't want anybody to feel like I cheated them or anything like that. There was a suggestion that I really thought was hilarious. And I thought really showed. And it involved temporal travel and coitus interruptus. And I've decided that that was the best suggestion of 2 spells that, anyway, it was a good idea. So that person needs to get back in touch with me and tell me all about what exactly it was. And I'll send you that bag of wonderful stuff. Now, back where was I? Okay, reunion game. Wouldn't that be nice? Have had further correspondence with the faculty liaison advisor, whatever, who believes he might actually have the original form for us, or for the club to become an official organization. Wouldn't that be a neat piece of ephemera? Because it might even have my name on it. I don't remember. I was behind the, hey guys, let's make this a real thing, but I have no idea. Yeah, we're gonna try to reach out to some people. Can you ever go back? No. Even if we could all get together on Skype, we didn't play remotely, we played together. What made us all hold our sides with laughter? Those many years ago, 44 years ago, when I left the group, who knows? I know one of my players was an attorney general for the state of Illinois. Poor bugger, because the state of Illinois is almost tits up. They're in such bad shape they had to legalize pot. Damn it. after I didn't live there anymore. And some of the other doing stuff, and we're going to try and track down a couple of the clerics who we only remember first names of. So I'm going to put together a list. I'm going to put it on my Facebook page and probably make a formal list of who I'm trying to get a hold of in the next issue, next episode, installment, whatever the hell you call this thing I do each week. And we'll go from there. And yeah, it'd be fun to get together in that and see who remembers what stories. That would be great. And yeah, we're going to try to find. I'm going to try to find Deathless Bob. Okay, now somebody tried to pull somebody, I think. Remember, I don't identify posters. Is trying to pull my leg. And that's not a good idea. Tim, did you know that an ancient sieving technique, Proto-Roman era, would that be Etruscan? Called a boule or bulletti, B-U-L-E-T-T-E, where a clay ring or lump with a special stamp was affixed to a rope that it had tied down an item, and if the rope was removed, the clay thingy would shatter, proving that the item was tampered with. Well, person who posted this, I thought that was pretty odd. Because before we actually published it, I actually looked in several dictionaries, including Gary's Old English, the most authoritative dictionary on English in the world. Anyway, never found that. Today, I went on Google and Googled the word, and I found 8 pages of nothing but references to the monster I created. Didn't find anything about a clay seal that, when broken, proved to have been tampered with. Called a boule, whatever. Didn't find that. Shouldn't try to fool a curmudgeon. You're going to have to send me a citation, a website, something like that to back that one up. Okay, here's one that I kind of missed this last week because my printer was printing on both sides and I didn't realize it. It was going to be the last thing I talked about. And that's multi-classing. Here's the thing from a couple weeks ago. Concerning dual classing and multi-classing, I surmise dual classing came about way back when somebody rolled real well and realized that this character would make a good fighter or a good magic user, and thus a dual class character like, one day I wear armor and I'm a fighter, and the next adventure I'm a wizard with a magic stick. Multi-classing is, I have the powers of both a thief and a cleric, and I backstab with my mace from the shadows. How do you recommend handling the dual classing and multi-classing? Can a multi-class character have the abilities of a second level thief, but only a first level illusionist? How would dice for hit points work in that scenario? Okay. Where did dual classing first come from? And we tried to stamp it out like a forest fire. Min-maxing, people wanting to be bigger and better than what Gary and David set out. They wanted, quote, normal humans with, special abilities. And they want, Gary particularly, in the writing of the formalization of the rules, wanted limitations, even on the humans, even though he was humanocentric in the rules writing. He wanted limitations. He was adapting from, and Dave too, in this regard, and Bronstein and some of the ones from previous influences. They were adapting from Central and Western European mythology and history. So there is a bias there. there is a heavy slant or lean there. And clerics in Judeo-Christian, particularly the Middle Ages Christian European, were not allowed to wear swords and shed blood. So, of course, real clerics, well, by class, not necessarily by practice, like good old Bishop Odo, the Norman, where they just went around and splattered people's heads with maces. So, they didn't shed any blood. You didn't, you whacked the guy in the head with a mace, you didn't see the blood that its helmet filled with. Gary wanted to limit magic users. He did not want magic users to take over the game. There are lots and lots of good stories about magic users who end up controlling huge swaths of land or territory or pardon me, my blood sugar's starting to drop a little bit and I got a yawn I can feel coming on. I should do these earlier in the night, but what fun would that be? So people wanted to min-max. And they went, well, I can do this, I could do that. And I go, what we used to do before that trait or that habit sprung up its ugly head, we used to figure out that somebody had a knack. And that was strictly through playing. If and we had, if we had a fighter, we had a cleric, we had a magic user, that's what we had. And then in my group down in Carbondale, we did trial run the ranger, and we did trial run the bard, and that's about it. And people wanted to do more, whereas we had, a fighter who had figured out the last trap. He figured out the last couple of traps because he had good die rolls. So we started giving him pluses on his coming up die rolls because we figured that was experience. He'd learned some things. He was better at it. Didn't have to be a thief. If I were to handle this dual class thing, which I just see as another attempt to min-max, I wouldn't let anybody strike for a second class before they made at least 5th level of their first class. And then I would not, and then they would have to be that second class, not what made 5th. They'd have to be that class and earn points for and act only as that second class for that second class to start to advance. So if you want to be a fighter and a thief, and you get up to 5th level fighter, now you want to be a thief, okay, you're now a 1st level thief, and you got to behave like a thief now. You got to go out, you got to be the thief in the party. You have to fill that role. You can't be taking out your big damn sword or your axe. You got to wear your leather. You got to take your burglar's tools. You got to be a thief. That's the way I would handle it. Hit dice. I'd probably average the 2. If a fighter was a 4 or was an 8, and a thief was a 4, I make them use 6s. Something like that. Depends on your system and exactly what your system, what numbers, what powers and strengths your system assigns. But I don't like multi-classes. Now, we saw this, we being TSR, the last 2 years I was there, because I got the letters to the editor. And I was also reading letters coming into the company, because I never stopped doing that duty, unfortunately. But we saw this coming in and realized it was a min-max, but we realized that we were hoist on our own petard. And if you don't know that, you should look that up. Hoist, like the hoist, and petard is P-E-T-A-R-D. Excuse me, P-E-T-A-R-D. We were hoisting our own petard by Appendix N. We had based and justified everything we had done and how we had done it and why we had done it on the books in Appendix N. And now there were other books coming out. The one that, before I got to know the author, I would have gladly strangled was the creator of that damn that Drouth guy fought with two weapons, two-handed. That completely, everybody wanted to be like Drizzle or whatever the hell his name is. And so everybody wanted to fight with two weapons, which completely broke the D&D combat system. And until I met Bob Salvatore one year at Tracy Hickman's Killer Breakfast, sat next to him through our stint up there on the stage. Nice guy. I'd have gladly killed him for Drizzle, because Drizzle was, thief and a fighter, and I didn't. He just really broke the mold. There's a justification for a multi-class, but I would make it hard. But then again, when I say fifth level, in old school, fifth level is a serious commitment. If you make it to fifth, you've been a serious adventurer, and you've lived through some shit, and you've done some shit, and you've got some stuff, and you've been killing things and taking their stuff on a regular basis. All good things in our world. That's how I'd handle them. If you're going to multi-class, I wouldn't let anybody start out multi-classed. And I have a couple, 3 of my 15 pre-gens, 3 perhaps, or 4 might be multi-class. And they're considerably lower than the rest of the other ones. And I only put them in there because I know people like to play them. If they wouldn't be in my homegrown, my face-to-face, I wouldn't use them. Talked to the people at Demented Cow the other day. They're writing up a brand new exclusive scenario for AppleCon so I can teach people how to play the game in under 2 hours and walk away and let them finish all on their own, knowing what they're doing. Can't wait to do that. We talked about it. It sounds like fun. Got a wonderful email in the mail the other day. A game that I backed on a Kickstarter some while ago because it sounded pretty interesting, and it was a 6-player game, which I'm always searching for because I have 5 friends that like to play. It's being shipped, and I'd forgotten. I'd forgotten, but it had been shelved for some time. So delightful. Something new is coming. Is there a better feeling for a gamer knowing that something's coming? Now the anticipation builds. What if it's a stinker? Oh, well, that's Kickstarter. Just because it made a lot of money on Kickstarter didn't mean it was a good game. It just meant that somebody made up a good video, wrote some good copy, and had a neat idea. Didn't mean they executed it worth a damn. But hey, Kickstarter, you pays your money, he takes your chances. It's a stock market. You buy in. If it does well, you did well. If it doesn't, it flops, you flop. What else have I got? Not much. Have a brand new great grandson who's now 11 days old. I've started him on wizard training already. And you should see his hands, these lovely big hands with these long, straight fingers. Oh, what that boy will be able to do with gestures. Anyway, the rest of my family from Texas is coming up in about a week and a half. I'm going to see them all. I'm going to have the entire family together at one time. And when I get that picture, I'll post it. Or maybe we'll shoot a little video and I'll share it with you. I don't know. But in the meantime, Doda to Govee. Oh, hello. I'm still figuring out when this thing starts. Welcome to my cellar.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs. Still quite a feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Last man around when them rates went down. Called it Gary in that Lake Geneva town. Hey Gary, it's an awful mess. Let me edit, we'll have success. D&D and Dragon Magazine.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Magic missile, it's a mortar shell. Make it hit in the first level spell. Brought psionics to the game to attack that wizard brain. DSR and fantasy, collection of micro armory. Tight with tramp under a tree, high as could be.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Curmudgeon.